Hey, I've got Matt Miller with us here today, and Matt's been a member of Worship Workshop. He's a part of our coaching group now, and has just gone through some really cool changes over the last year. I don't know, 2 years maybe. And so we're just going to talk today. So, Matt, thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks. This is going to be good. I'm looking forward to people hearing your journey. So just give me a little about you, your family, your church a little bit, and just so people have some context.
Yeah. So Matt Miller from Cincinnati, Ohio, 33, wife. We met at band camp in college. She's awesome. She's on the team with us as well. So that one time at band camp. Yeah. And she played flute. Yeah. So we have a 2-year-old daughter. Her name is Melody. Imagine that, right? She's awesome. And as of now, I'm the full-time worship pastor at Freedom Church in Cincinnati. And it's definitely been a journey. We started going to Freedom Church in 2017, just as, just new people to the church. We were looking for a church that we kind of grow with, and just got involved little by little with the worship team. And then it became, kind of a part-time thing. And then now it's a full-time position. The church had never had that position before. The church has only been around since '09. So they were, just a growing church as well. But yeah, my wife teaches music at one of our local schools here. She's an elementary music teacher. We both have degrees in music ed. And it's a little bit about me.
Cool. Well, so let's rewind a few years when you started taking over some of the leadership of the worship team. There was, you did a lot of the back end kind of work and coordination there. So tell me about what that looked like, and then some of your frustrations that you were having.
Yeah. So like I said, the church is pretty young. And so the worship team was solid in terms of, volunteers, faithful volunteers that would show up every single week, and, and talented people as well. And, but no one really kind of, with some real education behind kind of leading everybody. And, so when my wife and I joined the team, we didn't want to come in and make it feel like we were like taking over, that type of thing. But we've been doing this for, many years, and we weren't really onboarded correctly. I say that, or else the best way possible. And so there were immediately some shields kind of up, from everybody else on the worship team. And we weren't there to be, the new sheriffs in town, so to speak. Mm-hmm. We just wanted to be a part of the, of the team. And so then there were some frustrations and some toxic things kind of going on, which I'm sure a lot of people have experienced before. And so we finally just had that, come to Jesus meeting with everybody, and I kind of got on the same page. And I was just delegated, some things that to do every week, with like planning music and kind of run rehearsals and that type of thing. And then I just started spending a lot of time with that, because it does take a lot of time to do it well. And then officially January of last year, so beginning of 2021, it became, I was the director of music and media, and it was a part-time pay position, because I had to sit down with the ministry leaders and say, look, I'm putting in like at least 25 hours a week, every week, with all this planning stuff, and, planning center, and just writing charts and running rehearsals, and obviously Sundays and that type of thing, in addition to, owning a business and a couple other side hustles and that type of thing. And it got to the point where I was sacrificing time for my family. And so I had to have that meeting with the leaders of our church and just say, hey, I would love to continue doing this, but I'm not going to be able to unless I can, really justify the time. Mm-hmm. Because to do it well, it takes time. And, so we did that for a year, and then kind of reevaluated and sat down again with the ministry leaders and said, hey, I really feel like this should be a full-time, position, because just of where I know we can go. And ministry leaders were, fine with it. We had to talk about it for a while, but there are other things I do at the church that aren't necessarily worship related, kind of like a communications executive pastor type role and that type of thing from an admin side. But yeah, that's so we're launched 2022. Things are great. It's full time, and it's great because I feel like I'm able to, instead of working in the ministry, I can work on the ministry,
Mm.
so to speak, which is huge. And so instead of having that Sunday driven manager mentality of like, all right, Sunday's coming, we got to get this. All right, everybody's, I got these tunes done. It's, I have the next 3 months planned out already. And I'm able to think about like, it'd be awesome if we could do a worship retreat and, getting all those things, the things that we wanted to do. Now I have the time to actually put in and make them happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like God has blessed our church so much, and I'm just really thankful to be part of it.
Cool. Yeah. So let's talk about that move from being that volunteer 20 some hours. I remember those days of talking to you and going, you're volunteer.
Yeah.
But, and talk about, let's talk about, okay, with that idea of not just moving to, part-time, then full-time, but what are the things that you put in place to help you move away from that just Sunday to Sunday grind, that Sunday driven manager, like you said? So what are some of the things that you put into place?
Well, the first thing is swallowing a lot of pride, which I think is tough, especially, as a musician, and just having the understanding of like, hey, I need to seek out some resources, because this can't just be all on me, and I don't need to reinvent the wheel. People are doing this long before I have. So I looked for some resources and stumbled upon Worship Workshop and kind of vetted that and saw that. And I was like, oh, this could be helpful, because I think culture is really important. And I'm sure we can all agree that language shapes culture. And sometimes, teams have to hear things from other people in order for them to actually hear them. And they also just don't need to hear me barking at them, the whole time. So I was able to utilize Worship Workshop and have John kind of bring up some tough stuff, and then we would have discussions about these Worship Workshop lessons. And it was a conversation. It wasn't Matt saying, look, this is what we're going to do. It was, hey, that was interesting. Give me some feedback, guys. What did you like best? What did you not like about that? And it helped start the conversation to just change some things for the better.
Yeah, you could make me the bad guy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're mad at you. They weren't mad at me, even if I agree with you 100%. And then I was just able to kind of just relay the fact of like, hey, John's talking about, just in big generalizations here, what might work for the church down the street won't work here, or for our people and that type of thing. So it was good to, again, have the conversation and have them not mad at me. It was good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that whole hometown prophet is very real. And I created that whole workshop and tried to share it with my team, and they were like, no, we don't want to watch you. Why do we want to watch you on screen? So, but yeah, that's great. What else did you implement over this journey?
Well, the song cycle was huge. That made things a lot less complicated.
Okay.
Because that would be a big part of kind of the Sunday driven manager thing of, okay, what tunes are we doing again this week? And okay, what key we're going to do it? And all right, who do I have this week? Who's playing drums and that type of stuff? And, who are my vocalists? So the song cycle just made it real black and white. I mean, it's a system, and we were doing basically a new song each week. And it was rough. Like I didn't even realize how much abuse I was given to my team, really, of having to, chomp through a chart every single week that's new. And it wasn't done well. And it just created so much stress. And so the song cycle really helped us, tear down our monster list of songs. And I think when I originally did it, we had done, in 18 months, we had done 72 new songs. It's crazy. And now we probably only do maybe 15 of those 72 now are still in the list. So the song cycle just makes it easy, not just for the person planning everything, but also for the team, because they get into the habit of, oh, we got a new song. We're probably going to do this 2 weeks in a row, and then give it a week off and then a week on. And they understand the tier system. and the three phases of learning, churning, and kind of burning, when to retire songs. And that our congregation sings now because they know the songs. And that moment of when the band gets sick and tired of playing the song is probably just when the congregation is getting used to singing the song. Mm-hmm. We've just seen the impact. Now we'll start a certain tune, like with the first few notes of a tune, people are like, oh, here we go. They stand up. They know what's coming, and they're worshiping, from their heart instead of from the screen.
Yeah, it's great. Love that. Love that. So yeah, let me back up and jump back to the Use in Worship workshop. So you had a progress of using that, just starting with, I think you just got one class before you ever signed up for the membership. What was the progress there, and what did you see happen with your team?
Well, it's good. So we started with Lead Worshiper 101, and again, going back to this language shapes culture thing, that first lesson, talks about that everybody on the platform or in the tech booth or operating a camera is a lead worshiper. Because there was kind of this, title thing of like, well, so-and-so is the worship leader. And it's like, no, we're all lead worshipers here, whether we have a guitar in our hand or we're operating, a keyboard or whatever, we are all leading people in worship. And so that really just gave people some ownership of like, oh, okay. And, that everything that everybody does really, really matters, to making a Sunday happen. So that was key, getting everybody on the same page that, no one's role is more important than anybody else's type thing, that it does, takes a village, so to speak. So started with that, Lead Worship 101, then went to, 201, and which was great because I talked about, why practice matters and the difference between practice and rehearsal, that practice is personal and rehearsals are relational. So by the time rehearsal night comes, we're really just, putting all of our pieces of the puzzle together. We're not trying to figure out how it goes. We, everybody comes prepared, and just the number system has helped out a lot. What's a level 1, what's a level 5, like that is just, that's been really helpful. So again, everybody's buying in, because they know that, if someone doesn't come prepared, that's actually disrespecting their family, because somebody else took time out of their day, took time out of their family to learn their part. And if somebody else doesn't, it's kind of like a slap in the face. So we were able to have those tough conversations, and just get on the same page as a team.
Nice. So, I mean, really what you set out is you created a very clear, here's where we're going. Here's why we're going there. Here's what it looks like. Here's our expectations. You had those clearly defined. And so that way, like you said, you were able to have those come to Jesus meetings with people in a way that they understood, like, oh yeah, this is the standard. And I'm not, and I clearly know that, and I agreed to it, and I'm not meeting it. And so you're not just willy-nilly going, well, you need to practice more, or, you guys need to be more expressive on the platform or whatever. There's the why behind it and the buy-in, which is huge. Just to kind of back up for a few guys who are watching, if you're, Matt was talking about practice is personal, rehearsal is relational. That's something we teach in Practice Matters. And then the practice numbers is a module in there as well that teaches basically a model of takes a model of competency and assigns a number. So your team has a language for going, okay, how prepared should we be for a song, on a song for rehearsal, and how prepared should we be with this song for the service? And there's actual numbers that you can use. So, and you talked about that. Let me check my notes here. I just wanted to kind of, overall, you talked about the culture change. Talk to me a little bit more about how you've seen just the team culture shift over the last couple of years.
Well, we're not walking on eggshells with each other anymore, which is great. And, we've all grown up a lot, and I throw myself in that too. And it's so much more than the music. It just is. And, there's been a lot of humbling things that have occurred, and everybody's just on board that it's not about us, it's about Jesus. And it's difficult to kind of suppress that pride, and just it's just not about us. So there was a big heart check for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's been good. It really has. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd love to hear along the way. You joined into our Exceptional Every Sunday coaching group. You were the founding member, I think, if I remember right. Yeah. And so talk to a little bit about what that experience has been. One of the things that I will say about you, Matt, and I want other people to hear this, is this isn't pie in the sky. You get the program, it works. Matt every time we talk about something, all of a sudden he'd come back and I put that into action, and I did this. And, so we would do that, and you're an action taker, and that's a huge part of it. And, so I want people to know that this isn't just magic fluff stuff. He did the work. It takes work. It takes the awkward conversations, painful conversations at times to get your team turned around, to get them to have buy-in. But clearly it's been worth it, I would say, right, for you.
Oh, amen. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Yeah. So love to hear a little bit about the journey that with the coaching group, as far as how that's, benefited you, and what kind of things have you seen from it?
Yeah. The coaching group has done so much more for my family than I think actually gets recognized. Because this coaching group, it's not just the X's and O's of worship ministry, right? It's not just that. It's hey, this is what somebody said at rehearsal, and I didn't really know how to respond. And so I was like, how would you guys, handle those things? So the community aspect has been huge. And the other thing is this group is for people who really are, they're in the trenches. They're trying to get better. Like they're not happy with status quo. And, they take it to heart when the Bible says, play skillfully, and that we have a responsibility to give our best every single week. And so this isn't just like, hey, we're just going to talk worship. It's like, hey, this is what I got going on. Like, what are you guys doing? How can I help? That's everything. Or what have you seen work? So the community aspect's been huge. And the one-on-one coaching has been instrumental. It really has. To have somebody or a group of people that can give you legitimate feedback, from a loving Christian way, and instead of just saying like, oh, it was great, it was really good. That's sometimes like, it could be from the little things like platform positioning, or taking things off the platform that could be barriers between people on a platform and the congregation. Like just those small little tweaks, or just having another set of eyes ask, hey, well, that's interesting. Why do you guys do it that way? And it's like, oh, that's just kind of the way we do it. Oh, well, have you thought about this? Oh, boom. So those things. And if it comes down to a financial thing, guys, I'll just be straight up. I paid, like, personally for this worship mentoring program out of my pocket for months. And then my senior pastor had asked me one day, he's like, what's your schedule? I'm like, oh, I got this training cohort thing that'll be on for a couple hours. And he was like, are you paying for that? Like, how much did it cost? And I told him, and he goes, and you're paying that? And I was like, yeah, man. And so I wasn't just trying to invest in Matt. I was trying to invest in our whole worship ministry, because I was learning things. And then, like John said, I'm somebody who's going to put it in action. Okay, let's see if this thing works. Let's go. Let's not wait on it. Let's make something happen right away. And just to have somebody else kind of, I say game film, watch your game film review with you, because that's how you get better. I mean, if we look at any amazing athlete, they're always watching game film. How can they get better? How can they make those little 1% adjustments to make things better? How can you frame something? How can you invite people to worship instead of, like, prime example? I guarantee you a lot of us have done this. Sunday morning starts and we say, good morning, blank, blank, blank church. Let's stand and worship. Maybe you could rephrase that of, good morning, Freedom Church. We invite you to stand with us and worship. Like those, we invite, just those little tweaks for first time visitors or for anybody who's been there for a long time, just things that can make the worship experience better and eliminate all distractions. But just being able to talk about that stuff, it's been huge.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen you you've gone from music song leader to, I want to be a worship, not just a worship leader. I want to have a pastoral role, not just to your team, but to the congregation. And I saw that come through on your services as I watched them. It was, you're given time where you're admonishing, you're giving a little bit of some scripture, but bringing it in a way. I mean, you're not taking the role of the senior pastor. No senior pastor wants his worship guy or a person preaching, but you did it in a very appropriate way, and that was great to see. And that was just another piece of action. We talk about your service, and all of a sudden, bam! The next time we talked, it was like you'd done it, and all right, next, what's next? And so I just applaud you on taking that action like that. One thing I want to mention about the community aspect, and we don't have to go into the actual details because I don't even remember all the details of it. But one time you were talking through a situation, it was an interpersonal thing with a team member. And I remember you saying, here's I think going to be my approach. And I was like, okay, that should work. And inside I had a little bit of hesitancy, but I'm like, okay. But then it was Gabe, another guy in our group, who called you out and was like, this might not, I don't know. Can you talk? You don't have to give details, but
so without getting too specific on things here.
Yeah.
There's going to have to be a tough conversation between myself and another team member. And it looked, I guess, to Gabe and some others that I was kind of beating around the bush on it instead of just hitting it head on. Mm-hmm. And, Gabe just kind of in the middle of it said, no, Matt, no. This is, look, let me teach a young grasshopper. This is how you do this, type of thing. And it was great, side door coaching, kind of John calls that, of somebody else being able to speak up and just say, hey, this is going to be helpful. And I did it the way Gabe said to do it, and it worked out. Nice. And it fixed that relationship because it was handled the right way. And clearly Gabe has had to have these conversations before. That's how we knew how to do it. But yeah, it was basic story. I needed to tell this person that they need to really work on this tune or it was not going to happen, that I wasn't going to let somebody embarrass themselves. And I was going to say, hey, let's get together. Hey, if you want to work on this if you want me to work on this with you, I can help you, that type of thing. And Gabe just straight up said, no, you got to go to this person and say, when can we get together? When can we work on this? Not like, hey, if you want to get together, we could do something. No, when can we get together? Saturday, 10 a.m. Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, it was, I needed to, Gabe gave me, I'll say a Christian kick in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. Cause it's like, okay, yeah, there's training as you need it in there, the classes, the workshops, whatever. And, and I've got some experience and whatnot, and I can help kind of coach, but it's also the collective wisdom, and not just of the people older than you. I mean, there's people like you've gotten together with Anna, who she's in a different size, a little bit, probably the next size, bigger church than you. And you've been able to talk through, some tech stuff. So I'd love to hear about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been such an awesome resource to just be real and ask questions and not feel intimidated or judged, that type of thing. And so, Anna's church, Oak Ridge Baptist in Maryland, they have, a full-time like tech person, and he's really gifted. And so Anna really just has to focus on the platform kind of worship stuff. She's not having to worry about lights or cameras and things like that. And so we're at our church right now, we're kind of reevaluating how we use our lights and kind of trying to step our game up, so to speak, for the live stream. And so I was just able to Zoom with Anna and her tech guy and say, hey, where have you guys been? How'd you guys start? How'd you guys get there? That whole thing. And they just kind of showed me all their cards of like, oh, this is how we did this, and this is how much it cost, and this is how we presented it to our board and that type of thing, and this is how we've been able to reach more people. And it was a conversation, and it was great.
Nice. Yeah. So there's just I just love how you and the others have all tapped into, you're not just there to take information, but you're actually encouraging each other, helping out. You guys are watching each other's live streams too, and that's fantastic because I can't get to everyone's. Yeah. So
I enjoy watching other people's live streams because then you get to see them grow. Mm-hmm. And like, oh, hey, that was a great transition from song 1 to song 2, or hey, love how you incorporated the scripture into that. It was a great segue. Those little things. We're trying to get better, so we're watching with different eyes, so to speak, and so then to be able to recognize somebody's work of like, hey, I know how hard that took. You probably got the click in your ear, you got all the other instruments, and you're trying to say something completely different, or to move forward. So we the struggle is real, so to speak. And, just to be able to encourage one another of like, hey, I noticed that went really well. That created a distraction-free worship experience, virtual high five.
Yeah. No, and I love that you guys are doing that. It makes it, it just adds an element to the group that you can't get in a Facebook group. You can't get in anywhere else. And just the fact, you could go out and watch anyone's live stream, but the fact that you can go watch people who are in the group, they can watch yours. And then you guys have, we have our Slack group. We get together once a month at least. So you're able to interact and just connect in that way. So it's fantastic. It's I just appreciate how you've all leaned into the community aspect of it. So let me do this. Let me hear about what are you working on next? What's the next kind of thing that you're doing? I want to pause before you answer that and recognize something you said. It was that, what's that 1 or 2% shift you can make? Because at this point, you guys have grown as a church. Sure, there's some things that you can work on, maybe a few big changes you can make here and there. But for the most part, your musicianship, your preparation, platform presence, it's all dialed up to that 80, 90%. And now it's about those little changes. And, you can talk about some big changes, but I just want to bring that back, that's important, that leaders at this level recognize that, hey, I don't necessarily need to make the big changes. It's those little things. So I'd love to hear about what you're thinking next and what's on the agenda for you.
Yeah, well, those 1%, 2%, shifts have been huge, and a lot of that starts with the preparation. The team is only going to be as prepared as I am, and so I need to have charts done 6 weeks in advance, and so they can actually look at them and have them down. And so I look at my position as like my biggest role is to tee everybody up for success, so they can just swing away on Thursdays and Saturdays. So if I need to provide extra resources or, anything like that, I need to do that. That's how you make those 1%, 2% changes. Next thing really focusing on is making our team devotionals better. So kind of our format of rehearsal, we start right at 7. We are ready to play by 7. And there's more that phrase means, ready to play. I'm sure John can go into detail about it, but at 7:00, we start with a team devotional that is really just kind of like a centering time. And that's about 15 minutes. And then usually we'll have a worship workshop lesson that's, about 8 minutes or so. And then by 7:30, we're into the music and we wrap up by 8:30. So in 90 minutes, we've done a devotional, we've done some sort of training, and then we've gone through the rehearsal. So that's a lot to pack into 90 minutes, and but people are aware that that's all the time we're going to have, and so they have to come even more prepared. So we've been doing team devotionals for over a year now, and we kind of had, it was this, it was a week to week thing, it was just a book. We went through the book of John, and it was a devotional for worship teams, and we would rotate who would lead it each week, that type of thing. And there's a little devotional and then a couple of discussion questions, and it's just kind of stale. I personally felt like, well, we got to do a team devotional. All right, check that box. And it got stale. And so trying to find some newer team devotionals that are going to be just impactful and not just, oh, hey, we did it. Because we try to treat our worship team as a small group or as a life group. Because we're the most visible ministry, that the church has. And, the culture is so much more important than the notes we're playing or the songs we're singing. Like we have to have, a team that loves each other genuinely. Mm-hmm. And you have that by having discussions, that type of thing. So the team devotional will be huge. The one we're most likely going to go with is, one that's really going to ask some tough questions, not some softball questions. It's going to get real quick. And so I'm slightly nervous about how that's going to go. But it's just, that's what's going to take us to the next step is, just being real.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. And you've, not too long ago, you did the Healthy Team 101, I think, which kind of was the beginning of those tough questions to ask each other about how committed we are to the team and to each other and things like that. So I'm excited for what comes in this next phase. And, but yeah, man, thanks for the time today. I would love to as you're thinking through your involvement with the coaching group, who would you recommend this to, or what, if somebody was in a certain situation, you would say, hey, do this, what kind of, who would you recommend for this?
I would recommend this to anybody who wants to get better, like generally wants to get better and wants their team to get better. And especially for the person that probably works a regular 9-to-5 job somewhere, and then they're in the worship ministry, or they're the person who just gets this stuff done. This provides you with tools and resources to save you time, energy, and money. And that's all a system is: save yourself some time, energy, and money, right? Mm-hmm. And it's important. And I can tell you right now that if it were not for John and the team of people at WorshipTeamCoach.com, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's for sure. I'd probably just be really frustrated because I wouldn't have the time to get things done. So if you're that critical volunteer on the team who doesn't get paid, and I'm not saying it's not about money, but if you need to be compensated to be able to justify time so you don't have to work 3 other jobs to still make things happen, I think you need to have that tough conversation with your ministry leaders, because they don't know everything that you do. Mm-hmm. They don't. They just see what happens on Sunday, but they don't see, what happens behind the scenes. Following up with people. Hey, you're good this week, right? Oh, hey, you didn't respond to planning center. Just all the other admin stuff that goes into making Sunday happen is a lot of work. And John was straight up with me, and he said, "Look, if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, Sunday still has to happen, and your church would have to hire or have to have multiple people to do." What you do at the level of that. And that wasn't, to boost my ego or anything. That was to be straight up. Hey, if you don't relay this information to your church, because they've never had this position before, and something happens to you, the quality of Sunday goes down, and that's on you. So that was straight up. and now it's developed into a full-time position. And I don't think that happens without John and without Worship Workshop.
Cool, man. Hey, I just want to thank you for spending this time to do this, to kind of share your journey so other people can learn from it, whether they ever join a coaching group or buy a single product. It doesn't matter. It's if they can benefit from hearing your journey, that's fantastic. And so, yeah. And if you guys are wanting to hear more of what you could do, what we might be able to do through coaching or through some of our programs, just visit WorshipTeamCoach.com, or you can even shoot me an email, John@WorshipTeamCoach.com, and love to start a conversation with you just to see what what might be the next step for you. So again, Matt, thank you very much, and appreciate it so much, and looking forward to documenting the next chapter here in maybe even a few months. So
cool. Thanks, man.
See ya.